One of the biggest red flags about Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck's divorce is the fact that they have been living apart, completely separated. Now, although the couple made no public announcement about it, this has been confirmed by multiple sources and in multiple outlets. Now, it was first reported on May 16th that Ben had been staying at a Brentwood home all by himself. Then on May 19th, one inside source claimed that they had been staying in separate homes and the tension has been high. And then more recently, on June 28th, it was reported that Ben was moving his belongings out of their home and that the two of them only communicate now to discuss essential matters and updates. And these rumors expose their major marriage problems, which they've been hiding from the world. Now, Us Weekly spoke to someone back in May who said they started having issues a few months ago as Jen had started ramping up work commitments and prepping for her tour. They are on two completely different pages most of the time. Now, apparently around that same time, the couple did not celebrate Mother's Day together, which of course is a bad sign. It was also suggested that finances and parenting have made their issues worse. Meanwhile, another insider said Ben feels like Jen has a hard time feeling satisfied, and that's one of the issues they're facing. Ben is one of the only people who feels comfortable enough to be honest and real with Jen. It's part of why Jen loves him, but also why she's upset with him. Now, unfortunately, it seems like others around them are also pushing for divorce. JLo's mom allegedly told her, "Cut your losses and move on to avoid getting any deeper in this mess." She told her that she's wasted years believing that Ben was some kind of knight in shining armor. But according to her mom, he was not the person she built him up to be. It's taken too much of a toll on her, and because of this, she has lost sight of who she is and what she stands for. Meanwhile, JLo's sisters want her to file for divorce first and get on with her life so she can focus on her kids and career. And clearly, if her own family are giving her this advice, their marriage must be beyond the point of saving. Now, sadly, Ben's breakdown says a lot as well. It's clear he isn't going through the best of times at the moment. While rumors over the end of his marriage seem to be confirmed, the media spotlight that they're going through right now seems to be taking its toll. Now, Ben already proved it a few days ago after losing control and facing the paparazzi waiting for him at the exit of his mansion he shares with JLo in Beverly Hills. Now, he apparently went to pick up his personal belongings, taking advantage of the fact that his wife was on vacation in Italy. Now, one source close to him said, "It's no wonder he snapped, he's on the verge of a breakdown." Now, people close to Ben have been worried about him for a while because of what he's been going through in the past few months. They went on to say that he's in a very dark moment, and when he gets like this, his loved ones can't help but fear the worst. Now, since family has always been a fundamental pillar for Ben, he's now become very focused on his children, and surprisingly found a lot of support from his ex-wife, Jennifer Garner, who has not hesitated to offer her help to Ben, even though JLo is not thrilled about it. Now, apparently Garner always steps in when he gets like this, and she's been visiting him at home a lot to make sure that he's doing well. But again, JLo is apparently not too thrilled that Jen is stepping in like this, since it's well known that she has a lot of rules when it comes to her love life, which includes controlling how often Ben sees his ex-wife. Now, it's been rumored that the actor will be reunited with his ex-wife for Deadpool 3, and a source recently told Women's Day that JLo wants 24/7 access to the set and to be able to drop in unannounced. There are to be no promo joint interviews and/or photo shoots, and no after-work socializing. She wants Ben home as soon as he's done filming. So clearly, she is more than a little concerned about their workplace relationship. And JLo has also always been very strict on her idea of cheating, but she is known to take it a little too far. Now, she actually has a rule banning female flight attendants from her private planes because of her ex-husband's affair with one. And this is a rule that she has in place whenever she travels with Ben Affleck. Now, according to a news article, Jennifer was so angry after finding out her then-husband Marc Anthony had a fling with a flight attendant that she banned women from working on her private planes. Now, the two of them ended up splitting in 2012, but she clearly still carries that resentment with her. So much so that she can't trust these women to be around Ben either. Now, several corporate flight attendants came forward and confirmed that Jennifer brings her own male flight attendant, who is really just her personal assistant. Talk about bending the rules. Now, J-Lo allegedly keeps Ben on a tight leash about other things too. Before they got married, she demanded that he had to be in the best physical shape. Now, after the couple rekindled their relationship, she put him on a strict diet and workout regimen. According to an inside source, when they first started dating, Ben was up at 5 a.m. hitting the gym with J-Lo. Now, she told him this is unacceptable and she expects him to pick up the slack and wants him working out every day and eating right, no excuses. Now, the singer has also put her foot down when it comes to Ben's drinking. She's not a fan of drinking and partying and has always had a strict limit, but she changed this rule completely because of Ben's struggles. But you see, that's the other thing. With all of these divorce rumors going around, it's become very apparent that they are totally different people. While Ben is known as a more chill celebrity, J-Lo is the complete opposite. Now, she allegedly has a rule where she does not allow staff to talk to her directly or look her in the eye. In one instance, when contractors were hired for a job that could take up to a year on her house, they were informed that they were not to communicate with her at all. An inside source said she has made it clear that if any of the contractors, drivers, or domestic help make eye contact or speak to her, she will not be impressed. Now, she doesn't speak to salespeople, restaurant or hotel staff, or flight attendants. She only talks through her assistants. One flight attendant famously exposed her rude behavior. Apparently, when he asked Jennifer if she wanted a drink during a flight, she flat out ignored him, turned her head and told her assistant, "Please tell him I'd like a Diet Coke and lime." He said she wouldn't even look at me. It was sad. She seemed so sweet in her movies. Now, it's no wonder the singer is rumored to be entitled and superficial, because so many regular people have had the unfortunate one-time experience of being snubbed by her. And J-Lo's diva behavior actually goes back decades. Just ask fellow actress Rosie Perez. Now, they met back in 1991 during an open casting call for Living in Color. At the time, Perez was the show's choreographer and Lopez was auditioning to become a member of the dance troupe known as the Fly Girls. Now, her audition was unsuccessful, but Perez saw a star quality in J-Lo and actually pulled some strings to get her in. But after she was in the group, it became clear that Lopez didn't get along with her fellow dancers. According to Perez, she was labeled as a diva right away, saying all the girls were coming into my office complaining how she was manipulating wardrobe, makeup, and me all to her advantage. Perez said she didn't believe in it at first, but then J-Lo screamed at her saying, "I know I'm good, I'm better than any of these girls and you know it." Now, what's worse is after J-Lo left the show and made it big in the music industry, she went on talk shows trashing her former choreographer. Perez also implied that J-Lo ghosted her. She said, "I called her up, she wouldn't pick up. Frustrated, I left her an irate message on her answering machine, and instead of calling me back and hashing it out like friends do, she went on a major talk show and reiterated my lashing." Not to forget the fact that Jennifer also allegedly got a German hotel maid fired for asking for an autograph. Now, the staff member was working at the luxury Melia Hotel in Dusseldorf, Germany in 2012, and she was a big fan of J-Lo and worked up the courage to knock on the star's hotel door to ask for an autograph, but she was promptly turned away. She then claimed that she was fired the day after. She told The Sun, "I am an incredibly big fan, so I took all my courage and rang the bell to get an autograph, but I was rejected by 2 assistants at the door. A day later, the cleaning company that employed me at the hotel called and said that Miss Lopez had complained. I was fired right there on the phone." Now, after receiving a rightful amount of backlash, the pop star wrote on Twitter, "Come on, thought you knew me better than this. Would never get anyone fired over an autograph. First if I heard of this was on Twitter, #hurtful." So clearly she's been a controversial figure for quite some time, and fans are pointing this out now that they seem to be on the brink of divorce.
Number 10. Sharing the stage. J-Lo didn't hold back when it came to her opinion on sharing the stage with Shakira at the 2020 Super Bowl halftime show. In her newly released documentary called Halftime, she labeled it as the worst idea in the world. Quote, "If it was going to be a double headliner, they should have given us 20 minutes. That's what they should have effing being done. Basically, it turns out that Jennifer was frustrated with the NFL for booking 2 headliners and making them share the same amount of time that any solo performer would receive, as opposed to doubling it and giving the women extra time to shine. As a result, fans slammed the artist for coming off as entitled. While it's true that they only gave the performers 6 minutes each, the action-packed show garnered immense praise from fans across the globe, with many fans commending the women for showcasing their Latin heritage so brilliantly. What JLo was really mad about though is that previous solo headliners like Beyonce and The Weeknd received 14 minutes to perform, but judging by her complaints, it's clear that she feels offended that they asked her to share the stage at all. Number 9. Cheating allegations. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have had an on-again, off-again romance that has been going on since the 2000s, with fans even nicknaming the couple Benifer. I mean, these two just got married this year after they first got engaged nearly 2 decades ago, but the timeline of their relationship is a huge red flag and included alleged cheating. So in July of 2002, Lopez filed for divorce from her second husband, Chris Judd, citing irreconcilable differences. But this news broke just months after Lopez had wrapped the movie Glee alongside her then boyfriend Ben. Even though she vehemently denied cheating rumors, Ben took out an ad in The Hollywood Reporter gushing about Lopez before her divorce wasn't yet finalized. In fact, even Chris Judd's father, Larry, spoke out against the couple and accused JLo of being unfaithful to his son. He insinuated that the affair started during the filming of Glee. Quote, "I thought Mr. Affleck would honor a married woman and not just go right into the trailer," and added that she'd be happier if she'd just tell the truth and no one in her little circle is going to say one negative thing to her. But we'll never really know the truth of what happened. Number 8. Music theft. The star has been accused of stealing and borrowing background tracks and vocals from other artists for years. One of the stars who accused her of doing this was Usher in 2005. He claimed that she stole a song that he cast aside while recording his hugely successful album called Confessions. Usher claimed that JLo's single Get Right is actually a re-recorded version of Ride, a song that he co-wrote the year before, which was only available online. He said, quote, "I hate it, but I'd better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right, but I didn't expect JLo to just take it." And apart from being accused of stealing the same sample song that Mariah Carey used for Loverboy, JLo was also given songs that were initially intended for Ashanti, which is why a lot of people claim what happened between the two artists was straight up music theft. In September of 2001, Lopez released I'm Real from her second studio album, JLo, that she worked on with Irv Gotti. But the song was already recorded and mixed with Ashanti's vocals, which is why you can still hear her background vocals in Lopez's version. Number 7. Makeup artist feud. Scott Barnes, who worked for JLo for the past 20 years, has had to deal with so much of the star's crazy hot and cold behavior. In the mid-2000s, the star essentially banished her longtime makeup artist, Scott Barnes, after rumors surfaced that someone had leaked info to the press about her and Marc Anthony's secret marriage ceremony. Speaking on the Jeff Probst show in 2012, when asked about how JLo treated him, he said, quote, "It was like I had the plague." But interestingly enough, eventually she ended up giving Barnes his old job back again after learning the truth, but apparently failed to apologize for being so cold and ruthless towards him. I mean, she literally cut him off without a word and blamed him for the leak without even confronting him. Barnes went on to say, quote, "I went right back to work with her and we just never spoke about it again," which is even weirder. The funny thing is, her celebrity makeup artist would go on to work with her for another 6 years and insisted that they remain on good terms despite the fact that she ghosted him and didn't even apologize for it. Number 6. The Marc Anthony romance. Celebrity gossip magazines could not get enough of the power couple in the early 2000s. They were absolutely everywhere and it seemed like fans loved the pairing. But their beginnings as a couple were super questionable to say the least. Anthony married former Miss Universe Dayanara Torres in 2000, while Lopez was dating Ben Affleck roughly around the same time. But the on-again, off-again couple picked their romance back up while Anthony was still married to Dayanara. So less than a week after Anthony's divorce was finalized, the couple surprised fans by getting married in a small, all-casual ceremony in her Beverly Hills home in early June. It really begs the question of whether or not JLo was some kind of homewrecker, because the timeline of the rekindled relationship seems really off. I mean, he actually broke Dayanara's heart, and she said, quote, "You go through hell. I cried until there were no tears left, until I was numb. I didn't want to eat, I didn't care to get dressed or take a shower, I just wanted to lie there." Anthony's feelings for Jennifer might have been there all along because the two had history, but he should have put way more thought into who he chose to marry in the first place. So in a way, they're both at fault here. Number 5. Insensitive comments. To give you some background on why everyone felt that JLo was trashing belly dancing. So a part of the 2020 Super Bowl performance featured young dancers sitting in glowing cages, which many people assume represented the immigrant children in cages at the US border. But she apparently had a hard time convincing the NFL to do this, and said, quote, "I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just us out there shaking our effing asses and effing belly dancing." She went on to say that she wants something real, something that's gonna make a statement, something that's gonna say we belong here and we have something to offer. Now, if you're confused about why that was so controversial, essentially she compared the art of belly dancing to just shaking your butt for the hell of it. In fact, that particular line was shared across Twitter and people were big mad. It was just a little culturally insensitive to say, considering the fact that the dance has long been associated with Middle Eastern cultures, and it's something that Shakira has become known for, using it to channel her father's Lebanese Syrian Arab roots. Number 4. Avoiding the Bronx. This one, train wreck of an ad campaign, led people to openly mock both Chrysler and Jennifer Lopez. The central premise of the ad was that sometimes JLo will drive through her old hood in the South Bronx in a Fiat 500 just to stay inspired. Although it sounds ridiculous, the marketing campaign obviously tried to draw on the singer's famous Jenny from the Block era. Most people recognize the song in which she pays tribute to growing up in the Bronx, which had been a solid part of her image since the 90s. In fact, the singer even titled her debut album On the 6, which is a clear reference to the New York subway train. A press release at the time even stated that she would be traveling through the streets of Manhattan to the Bronx where she grew up. But the ad backfired when the smoking gun reported that Lopez never actually went to the Bronx to film the ad, and that a body double stand-in was used instead, calling it, quote, "such a breathtaking assemblage of urban cliches," and that was putting it lightly. Number 3. The movie line interview. The infamous movie line interview in 1998 that could have almost ruined JLo's career was truly worse than you can imagine. She was 27 at the time and fresh off the success of her film Selena. She basically decided to trash all the other celebrities that were big at the time and tried to trivialize their career and contribution to the industry. In fact, when asked about Madonna, she actually said, quote, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. And I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." It was so ironic because JLo would go on to do both music and acting for the rest of her career, and critics also trashed her acting on the big screen. Also, at the time, Madonna had been a star for a lot longer than JLo, so there was no real comparison there. And when Gwyneth Paltrow was brought up, Jennifer almost seemed to laugh and made it clear that she didn't take her fellow actress's career seriously. Quote, "Tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work." Yikes. Number 2. Accusations of racism. 20 years ago, Lopez was approaching full actualization as an entertainer, but a single from her second album, JLo, almost derailed her career entirely. The Murder Inc. remix of I'm Real, which features Ja Rule and Own Radio in 2001, was ruined by the N-bomb that she drops in her final verse. The issue was that the song was an instant hit, so much so that 10 years later, in 2011, Billboard gave it the 6th spot on its 40 biggest duets of all time list. But rightfully so, people were outraged by her use of the loaded term, not only because she's a Latina artist, but at her level of success, where she has a platform and sets an example to young fans, using such a derogatory word is at best offensive. But as the accusations of racism started to mount against the star, she eventually spoke out to defend her actions on the Today Show. Quote, "For anyone who thinks or suggests that I'm racist is really absurd and hateful to me. me. Although many people think this is not an excuse, it was later revealed that the track was actually written by Ja Rule himself, and apparently he encouraged her to say it. And number 1, fired a maid. This one is really indefensible. Jennifer Lopez allegedly got a German hotel maid fired for asking for an autograph. Frey Dodaj was a staff member at the luxury Melia Hotel in Dusseldorf, Germany during Lopez's stay in 2012. She was a big fan of JLo and worked up the courage to knock on the star's hotel door in Dusseldorf to ask for an autograph and was promptly turned away. Frey claims that she was relieved from her post the day after the incident. She told The Sun, quote, "I am an incredibly big fan, so I took all my courage and rang the doorbell to get an autograph, but I was rejected by 2 assistants at the door. A day later, the cleaning company that employed me at the hotel called and said that Miss Lopez had complained. I was fired right there on the phone." If the incident really happened, it's hard to ignore the irony when you remember that Jennifer played a hotel maid in the movie Made in Manhattan. After receiving a rightful amount of backlash, the pop star wrote on Twitter, quote, "Come on, thought you knew me better than this, would never get anyone fired over an autograph. First I heard of this was on Twitter, #hurtful.
Is Bennifer on the rocks once again? And why is it JLo's fault? Let's discuss. So all in all, Ben Affleck tends to be a more low-key person compared to JLo, minus them both working in the public eye, obviously. So Jennifer recently launched a new album, This Is Me Now, with a self-financed $20 million multimedia campaign. Then you've also got the experimental film, This Is Me Now, a love story, all about the rekindling of her romance with Ben. And then there was the Prime documentary, The Greatest Love Story Never Told, which is about the making of the record and the film. If this is sounding repetitive and excessive, it is. So when Ben pops up in the documentary, it's to express concern that his private love story is becoming used for something he didn't particularly want. So this whole media spectacle is actually named after a scrapbook that Ben gifted Jennifer for Christmas, like ages ago, stacked with every letter and email they'd written to each other over the last 20 years. Now Jennifer showed the book to her producers and songwriters on the first day of making this new album, but she did it without asking or telling Ben. She's like, "Oh, it was just like our Bible, we left it in the studio." Now this revelation comes within the first 5 minutes of the doc, and right out of the gate, Ben is not shy about his discomfort. He is absolutely shocked that Jennifer would share something so personal with her collaborators. And now, of course, with the whole wide world, it's quite clear that JLo and Ben are like kind of blended family. So one thing that's cute is that JLo and Ben are kind of blended family goals. They've got their ex-spouses that are happy, and it also seems like they're kind of antsy about welcoming another member to the family. Yeah, apparently they want a kid together. Now, well, JLo has repeated this sentiment for quite some time. Soon after she and Ben got together, well, sure, some insiders claim that she's got baby fever. She's talking about it nonstop, but then also she's just trying to convince Ben to welcome this baby via surrogacy. And recently, apparently, she got him to cave in. Somebody was like, yeah, she nagged him until he went along with it. Which, not a good move. A baby isn't an accessory. It's a commitment and not something you should be nagged into doing. And it's not going to save your marriage. During their last outing together, the pair appeared super strained, with neither of them cracking a smile as they grabbed lunch together. They've appeared tense during a lot of their previous outings, including when they were embroiled in quite a heated discussion during their St. Bart's getaway. Just months earlier than this, back in September, Jen was seen looking very tense as she sat in the passenger seat of a car near Ben as they drove around LA. I'm all for a pap walk, but look happy, guys. They also raised eyebrows when they were seen attending the premiere of The Mother. In a very awkward moment while posing on the red carpet, Jen had a big frown on her face, and she was gesturing to Ben, and he looked angry. Yes, a lip reader did clarify that it wasn't an argument, but super awkward. After this, they soon reverted to Hollywood mode. They had these big grins, big kisses, but it's giving cover up. So when you look at JLo, most of her relationships, if not all of them, have always been in the spotlight. She's been in all these high-profile relationships, and they've made headlines all over the world. So let's pick one, 2017, when she was dating former New York Yankee Alex Rodriguez. Now, rumors spread that she would only consider marrying him if he agreed to a list of demands. What were these? Well, you can't talk to any woman under 40, which, why? Ew. Also, JLo loved his physique and wanted a guarantee that he won't let himself go once they get married. Now, we know those two didn't work out. She's with Ben, but what rules did Ben have to agree to get back to this relationship? Because if she had that much control over her previous relationships, I don't think she's giving it up anytime soon. And that's not it. So lately, multiple reports claim Ben and Jen are living apart, which has been confirmed by multiple sources and in multiple outlets. First off, TMZ, May 16th, they're like, Ben's been staying at a Brentwood home all by himself. And then J-Lo was seen house hunting in Beverly Hills without Ben and set with some gal pals, which feels very obvious and spiteful. Now, one insider said he's focusing on his work and his kids, but he's already moved out. They'll likely have to sell the dream house they spent 2 years searching for. Now, it's only been a year since these guys bought this $60 million mansion. Like, it's called an estate. That's how big this place is. So if J-Lo is just house hunting on her own, red flag. So just recently, J-Lo was asked point blank about the truth behind the divorce rumors. This was during a press conference for Atlas, her new Netflix movie. And after briefly laughing it off, she leaned in and was like, "You know better than that." Completely dodging the question, but it's like, we want to know. Her co-star, Simu Liu, also scolded the question, saying into the mic, "Come on, don't come in here with that," which prompted not one, but like a couple of double looks from folks online who think there might be more to that duo. Lopez was also solo for her co-chairing duties at the Met Gala, with a lot of folks surprised that like Ben would skip such a huge event. Co-hosting the Met Gala is a huge deal. Ben is said to have been working, he's too busy. But then he was on his own while appearing at the roast of Tom Brady, which was also May 5th, the night before the Met Gala. So like, you're too busy, but you're doing other social things? What did Jen tell him to do? A March 19th post about red flags from relationship coach Elena Marsak went viral after it was revealed that J-Lo had pressed like. The post in question read, "You cannot build a healthy relationship with somebody who lacks integrity and emotional safety, doesn't respect your time, doesn't think it's important to call or text back in a respectable time frame, lacks effective communication skills," and what was the other thing? Oh right, doesn't know who they are or what they want. Which seems like she's kind of subtweeting that. The caption added, "You can't build a relationship with someone who is disconnected from themselves. We can't expect someone to see us when we can't even see them. Getting in a relationship is the easy part. Nurturing and fostering it is a different story. After all, love is not a feeling, it's an action." Which is trying to tell us something? Now, if you didn't know, because I've already mentioned it a lot today, that whole documentary on Prime, giving the behind the scenes look into the new album and the movie. So some of the fans who watched it were like, Jen, we're gonna fact check you. You lied a little bit. In one scene, she poses in front of the mirror of her personal gym. She's shaking out her hair and she's like, "Oh, like, I like taking my hair out like this. It reminds me like when I was 16 in the Bronx, running up and down the block. Crazy little girl who used to be effing wild and no limits. All dreams." Yeah, cute in theory. However, TikTok user Photos by Angela slammed the star in a series of videos because she claimed to have gone to the same Catholic high school as Jennifer and accused her of lying about her experience living in the Bronx. She was like, "We both attended an all-girls high school in an Irish and Italian neighborhood. So you weren't running up and down the block." And this isn't the only lie she's been exposed for lately. She's long been accused of not actually singing on her albums, and singer Natasha Ramos took to TikTok to shed light on that. Now, Natasha, who has a voice very similar to Jennifer's, was hired to sing the demo of Jenny from the Block. The production team liked her voice so much that they asked her to record 5 more songs for the album. Now, Natasha did receive $3,500 and a backup singer's credit. However, as she claims, and as the original demo demonstrates, it's really only her voice in the final track. And not only in the choruses, it's her laugh and her yelling, "From the Bronx." J-Lo only sings in the verse. So, how is this relevant? Well, if these are just the lies that J-Lo tells the general public, what lies does she tell her husband? That's gonna cause badness in a marriage. Also, J-Lo has a habit of being quite a diva. When have you heard Ben making crazy demands for press tours or similar situations? An old interview from J-Lo recently resurfaced, and she's got a lot to say, and none of it's good. Would you like an example? Well, here's what she had to say about 2 major stars at the time, starting with Gwyneth Paltrow. "Tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work." Okay, what about what she had to say about Madonna? "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do. So I'm harder on people when they say, 'Oh, I can do that. I can act.' I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." Now, the funny thing about this is J-Lo said this after only having Selena and Anaconda under her belt for her acting career, which, that's embarrassing. So I'm glad people are calling her out for this, but at the same time, it's like, okay, if you're badmouthing people, what are you saying behind closed doors? What are you saying to your husband? And finally for today, another insider source claimed they've known Ben for more than 10 years, and everything is a fight for him and Jen. The only satisfaction he gets in life is overcoming when the odds are stacked against him. Now that they're reunited, the ego battle between Ben and Jennifer was always on full display, and is only really eclipsed by the obvious passion and respect they have for one another. But there has to be an easier path, and you have to ask why they want their marriage to be this way in the first place. I'm guessing for publicity? And in Jen's case, to promote her new work based on their love story. But I have a feeling the moment this whole tour cycle ends, so will the marriage, publicly, because it ain't looking great.
Number 10, the alleged racism. Jennifer and Ben Affleck tied the knot in a surprise wedding in Las Vegas and decided to have a bigger ceremony not long after. This time around, they opted to celebrate at Ben's 87-acre compound that is just outside of Savannah, Georgia. But this choice in venue sparked criticism that shouldn't be ignored. Called by the family as the Big House, Ben purchased the home in 2003, and it features 3 separate homes within: the Oyster House, the Summer House, and the Greek Revival style home. The listing agent said, when talking about the home, every detail is historically accurate, from the plaster moldings to the heart of the pine floors. But it seems that because of being historically accurate in nature, it's left fans wondering. Commenters on social media began criticizing the couple for hosting a celebration at a plantation, which of course is a style of home that has association with some pretty horrible history. To make matters worse, Ben and Jen were aware of the dark history in his ancestral line. News One reported that 7 years later, Ben issued an apology after requesting the PBS show Finding Your Roots withheld information about his plantation-owning ancestor. This allegedly even led to PBS shelving the show. This left many fans wondering why the couple would choose this home at all as their wedding venue, as well as why they own it in the first place. Despite finding his roots and knowing some of his ancestors' dark past, many found this to highlight some problematic behavior of ignoring the dark history of some of the buildings. Though the house itself isn't true in time, the land is. The property was reportedly owned by a plantation manager and allegedly is an unmarked graveyard. Most assume that Jennifer was aware of this information prior to planning her wedding there, and this hasn't left a good taste in many fans' mouths about the couple since.
Number 9, talk smack about other actresses. When a reporter from Movieline turned up at Jennifer Lopez's home to conduct an interview in 1998, he was greeted with what he described as being an orchestrated and deliberate scene. While JLo was being pampered by a number of different staff members doing her business, while she was getting a massage, she seemingly felt the need to let loose during the interview as she started taking swipes at a number of her industry rivals. When she was asked what she thought about the actresses of whom she was competing for roles for, she said the Romeo and Juliet star Claire Danes does the same thing with every character she does, despite the fact that they work together on the set of Oliver Stone's neo-noir crime thriller U-Turn. Lopez then went on to say she was never really a big fan of the 2-time Oscar nominee Winona Ryder, and she also went off on Gwyneth Paltrow, who would win Best Actress at the Academy Awards the following year by saying, "Tell me what she's been in." Jennifer then went on to tell the reporter in the infamous interview, "I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I've heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I've ever heard about her work." Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.
Number 8, bad acting. You can't deny Jennifer Lopez had some movie hits in the past, but lately fans are torn, questioning if she has just lost the touch. After failing to get a nomination for Best Supporting Actress in the movie Hustlers in 2020, fans took to social media to share their thoughts. The TV host Wendy Williams believed she was completely snubbed, saying, "Let me tell you something, Jen, you were robbed. They robbed you purposely because they're jealous of you." But some fans just didn't agree, speculating that it was her acting that was a direct result in the 0 nominations. A fan wrote at the time, "She has acted in 36 films but has never won an Oscar. Yeah, that's because they're all bad." They added, "No one wants to tell her the truth. Hustlers was a terrible movie, and her acting was very one-dimensional." Other fans seem to agree that maybe Jennifer has lost the sparkle that she did once have. On Reddit, when asked, "What do you think of Jennifer Lopez?" one user wrote, "She had promise. Honestly, she has fallen prey to the fame game. She brought solid work for a couple films, but she is no longer a phenomenon or a rare talent." They even went on to add, "She can fade with people taking very little notice. Things have a way of working themselves out." Harsh statements for sure, but what do you guys think? Are Jennifer's acting days behind her?
Number 7, insults musicians. During another Movieline interview, Jennifer also offered her opinion on fellow pop star Madonna's career when she claimed Madonna was good at the former, but not so good at the latter by saying, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah.
that. Do I think she's a great actress? No, acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when I say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft. However, the Queen of Pop isn't the only musician Lopez has shaded, as there has been much speculation that J-Lo's short-lived relationship with Drake in 2016 was nothing but a publicity stunt. However, the fact that Rihanna, who had somewhat of a complicated relationship with the Canadian rapper, over the years unfollowed Lopez on Instagram after she was posted in a pic across the Grammy winners, it seems to suggest that there indeed was some truth to the coupling. Lopez then revealed that she and Drake were working on a song together, but working with J-Lo doesn't always end well, and Drake learned that the hard way after she dissed Drake during a live show in Las Vegas by telling the audience that he was nothing but a late night call for her. And we all wonder why he won't bring a nice girl home to his mom for once.
Number 6. Insensitive comments. Jennifer Lopez was called out for some criticized comments made about her Super Bowl halftime performance in 2020. For the halftime show, J-Lo came together with Shakira for an iconic event. Despite having 6 minutes of performance times each, it received a huge amount of praise from the stars. However, after Jen's documentary Halftime came out, discussing some of the struggles of the show, a few fans took back their former praise. Not only did Jen brand the whole thing as the worst idea in the world, but she had some very specific views on a political aspect. It seems her organizers just weren't seeing eye to eye with her at the time. During her performance, she was surrounded by children sitting cross-legged inside a glowing cage. Many came to the conclusion that these glowing cages were intended to look like immigrant children being held in cages at the US detention centers. You're probably thinking, how could this be bad, as this is a topic that should be more widely discussed? But it was her comments afterwards that got fans pretty heated. It seems the NFL was more reluctant to include this moment at all, which pushed J-Lo to fight back at the show's organizers in a heated phone call which was shown in her documentary. She said, "I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just out here shaking our effing butts and effing belly dancing." She went on to say, "I want something real, I want something that's going to make a statement." Not long after the documentary was released, a certain line about belly dancing found its way across Twitter. One Twitter user wrote, "In a new documentary, J-Lo compared belly dancing to just shaking your butt. She said this type of dance and what Shakira offered wasn't culturally relevant enough to be shown on stage." They continued on by saying, "This comes after she said she was not happy to share the stage with Shakira. She's bitter, loud, and wrong." Others even accused her of having an ethocentric mindset, where she believes her culture is superior to others. One other social media user wrote, "To say that belly dancing, a Middle Eastern culture, has no substance is so ethnocentric and perhaps a little racist."
Number 5. Drives co-stars crazy. Now, there's a list of actresses who have felt like Jennifer Lopez brings things a little too far on set, and one of those people's on the list is Cameron Diaz, especially after Jennifer went on to diss her about her career to Movie Line by labeling Cameron as a lucky model who's been given a lot of opportunities, to the point she wishes Cameron would have just done more with her talent. Jennifer's brutal assessment of Cameron's career trajectory reportedly made things a tad awkward for the pair when the actresses were both cast in the 2012 film What to Do When You're Expecting. On-set sources would then reveal that the two on set just couldn't get along. Lopez then didn't endear herself to Cameron, who allegedly said the pop star was a nightmare to work with, as she once even said to Jen she should stick with her day job, meaning American Idol and singing, as an insider even claimed that Jennifer demanded to eat at specific times, no matter what, and she would even stop work to have her assistant run her over some small protein and a veg-based meal. This drove Cameron crazy. Details of their feud would soon become a hot topic after it appeared in Star magazine, after a source claimed to the media outlet that the co-stars actively avoided one another by saying they don't interact much, but when they do, the tension is thick. And Jennifer just acts like Cameron doesn't exist. However, when both actresses denied the rift while promoting the movie, it then caused critics to say this was ultimately just all planned.
Number 4. Music theft. From her career in acting to her music career, it seems controversies seem to follow her. Over the years, Jen has been accused of stealing songs from other prominent artists in order to gain more fame for her music quicker. Back in 2005, J-Lo released her 4th studio album, which was called Rebirth, though it seems to be received from some pretty mixed reviews. The song Get Right was pretty widely praised, and at the time it was reported that the singer Usher was furious though, accusing Jen of using his music. He said at the time, "I hate it. but I better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right. But I didn't expect J-Lo to just take it. According to Usher, Get It Right was his song with the title Ride, and it was available to listen to show proof that it was her that just re-recorded a version of his own song. Not only that, but Jen was also accused of using Ashanti's vocals for her song I'm Real. She said at the time, "You should always care about who you give credit to, regardless of what industry you're in. It's really important to give credit." Luckily, in the end, she did get credit, but still, it's not a very good look.
Number 3. Makes ridiculous demands. Most big musicians send riders when negotiating with a venue or organization prior to a gig, but if the stories are true, Jennifer Lopez has made some crazy diva demands over the last couple of years. As according to Huffington Post, J-Lo was all set to perform at the opening of the Indian Premier 2020 cricket tournament, which has a TV audience around 60 million people in 2013. But apparently, she lost the gig when IPL bosses found out that she was asking for a private plane, numerous hotel rooms to accommodate all of her stylists and handlers, and the organization was so shocked to even point out they didn't even want to play ball with Jennifer and they would replace her with Pitbull. However, apparently those demands are nothing when you compare them to the impossible requests she made ahead of her medley performance at the World Music Awards in 2010. As the Mirror would report that the singer allegedly requested a helicopter to be on standby, as well as a custom-fitted speedboat and a pair of diamond-encrusted headphones to drown out the sound of the boat's motor. And her people have even requested that she had an entire floor of a hotel to herself to ensure she isn't hassled. Privacy was such a main concern, she even once had a piece of beach roped off for her as well.
Number 2, problems with staff. Jem seems to have been accused of treating her staff honestly pretty terribly. During a storm of fans sharing their uncomfortable moments with Jen, one woman accused the star of being rude to her drivers. The TikTok user revealed that her father once worked for a company that Jen would use to hire and provide drivers for her. The TikToker claimed that Jen does not allow the drivers to look at her, and that even if the driver looks through the rear view mirror, they weren't exempt from Jen's scolding. Not only that, but she refused to have her luggage ever touch the ground. Because of her diva temperament, she shared that her father refused to drive for J-Lo because of all the horror stories that he heard through the grapevine. J-Lo is no stranger to being called a diva, but not even being able to make eye contact really does seem a little bit extreme.
And coming in at number 1 today, we have too full of herself. There's confidence and then there's arrogance, and Jennifer Lopez has walked a dangerous tightrope between both categories for years. As the star even once declared in an interview with Movieline that she herself is an A-list celebrity. When Movieline then asked her why she was a hot property in Hollywood at the time, she then delivered an incredibly immodest answer by saying, "Because I'm the best." She said, "I feel I can do anything, any kind of role, I'm fearless." This kind of honesty is somewhat refreshing, but having too much belief in yourself and your own abilities will inevitably get under the skin of your colleagues and viewers alike. Lopez then claimed to have something called the stardom glow, but not everyone saw it that way. At the time of her career, even though it was 1998, it was a good year for the star, but she certainly fell out of favor with critics in 2003 when she landed the Worst Actress title at the Golden Raspberry Awards. And ever since, her career has had a bunch of ups and downs, and it seems like it gets worse whenever the actor lets all the fame go to her head.
J-Lo's new Amazon Prime documentary and musical movie has caused quite a stir over the last week, especially in the Affleck-Lopez household. Once a couple 20 years ago, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez are now back together, and fans are. Ben is reportedly angry with Jennifer currently after her new movie about their love life was recently released. Insiders told The Heat that Affleck was reportedly scared that J-Lo's new film, This Is Me Now, would ruin his career, and apparently that fear has not dissipated. There is a very real risk that this film will not get the reaction she is expecting. Ben's been complaining to friends this could end up being Gigli 2.0. They said it will be especially embarrassing for him considering the career that he has built up and how seriously he takes his projects. He is scared he's made a big mistake getting involved. This is the second project they've worked on together, and since Gigli was so panned by critics, receiving a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes and losing over $60 million million at the box office, it seems as though Affleck has been worried about the same treatment, and it allegedly caused problems in their marriage. Ben Affleck also recently admitted the romance forced him to make major compromises. Jennifer was really inspired by this experience, which is how artists do their work, Affleck said. They get inspired by their personal life. It moves you. I know as a writer and director, I certainly do the same things, but things that are private, I always felt are sacred and special, in part because they are private. So this was something of an adjustment for me. At a screening earlier this week for the documentary, Lopez said that her husband was a quote, reluctant participant in the whole thing. According to People, she told the audience during a Q&A session, the other scary part was that I was bringing into it my husband, who was kind of the reluctant participant and a silent participant and all. Affleck still admits his hesitancy with having the spotlight on their relationship. It's the first time that she's done something as an artistic form of expression that was purely for the sake of what she had to express. It was about bringing out the things she felt inside that she just wanted to say, Affleck said. And I don't really love being in the making of a documentary about my personal life, which is why I'm so relieved that it's not really, and it seems like I might be in this, but not really. I was worrying for no reason. The movie wasn't about me, it was about the ability to love yourself, and that love story is a lot effing harder to find than Prince Charming. Celebrity matchmaker Alessandra Conti notes that there's been a shift in how the public engages with famous couples. Navigating the complexities of fame and having a very public relationship was challenging back in the early 2000s, but now it has reached a different level. Every couple who is remotely in the public eye experiences an intense level of scrutiny, especially with the dawn of social media, she told Fox News. However, J-Lo and Ben have kept a relatively low profile when it comes to social media, and although they're supporting each other at professional events, they have kept the intimate details of their relationship private. This is a smart strategy, and as long as their privacy is maintained, it is a sustainable situation for him and J-Lo. Ben also needs to understand that whoever he dates, he will be scrutinized in the public eye. This is one of the trade-offs of fame, she says. In the documentary, the couple admitted they, quote, just crumbled under the pressure of being a tabloid phenomenon, and it put a strain on their relationship, leading them to call off their 2003 wedding 3 days before it was supposed to happen. I had a very firm sense of boundaries initially around the press. Well, Jen, I don't think objected to it the way I did. I very much did object to it, Affleck said. Getting back together, I said, listen, one of the things I don't want is a relationship on social media. And then I realized it's not a fair thing to ask. It's sort of like you're gonna marry a boat captain, you want to like the water. We're just two people with kind of different approaches trying to learn to compromise. J-Lo is no stranger to headlines and tabloid drama though. Let's go down memory lane and rehash some of J-Lo's most shocking controversies. In 2020, Shakira and J-Lo co-headlined the Super Bowl halftime show, and she was accused of throwing some serious shade at Shakira. Lopez was seen getting into a heated debate with an NFL producer about her idea to have caged child performers on stage, a reference to the living conditions that youngsters face at border detention centers. She said, I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just us out there shaking our effing butts and effing belly dancing. I want something real. I want something that's gonna make a statement, that's gonna say that we belong here and we have something to offer. The use of the term belly dancing, something which Shakira is very famous for, left many believing that she was dismissing her co-star's contributions. Jennifer Lopez was also accused of being insensitive to her husband's addiction issues in 2023 when she launched her own brand of alcoholic cocktails. The Let's Get Loud singer put her famous name to Dalola, a range of drinks created with mixologist Lynette Marrero. But having only just walked down the aisle with Ben Affleck, a recovering alcoholic, this latest business venture left a sour taste for some fans. There's also a rumor that J-Lo didn't used to sing on her old records. Rumors had been circulating for years that Jennifer Lopez had more than a little vocal help on hits such as Play, Ain't It Funny, and I'm Real. And in 2014, fellow R&B star Ashanti appeared to confirm that these tracks were essentially uncredited duets. Jenny from the Block is another Lopez banger whose chorus you may struggle to hear the lead artists on. In 2019, Natasha Ramos said, "J-Lo did indeed go in the studio and lay down background vocals over my voice. So I wouldn't say that she's so much lip syncing. However, the backgrounds are predominantly me, some ad-libs and laughs as well." Luckily, Ramos doesn't hold a grudge against the Hollywood star, but does against her label for failing to give her proper credit. Last year on TikTok, there was a viral trend going around, fans exposing J-Lo horror stories, and some of these are shocking. One woman described the experience of helping J-Lo at Foot Locker. She said Lopez, quote, "cussed me out because the store didn't have the correct size for the shoes she wanted to buy her twins." But that was nothing compared to the story another woman had after Lopez came to stay in a house where she used to work as a maid. She described how a nail artist was called in to give Lopez a pedicure in bed, which the nail tech had to do upside down because Lopez, who was laying on her stomach, refused to roll over onto her back. And if you're thinking of making eye contact with J-Lo, never do it. A TikToker who says that her father worked as a driver for a car company, often used by J-Lo, said that even a driver glancing in the rear view mirror sparked Lopez to berate him for invading her privacy. Unsurprisingly, her father eventually refused to drive Jennifer ever again. J-Lo's new Amazon Prime movies aren't getting the best hype, as some say it is the worst movie ever made. One reviewer made a list called "The Reasons Why This Sucked." "I had no idea what was going on in the movie," she says. "There was no theme, actually. There were too many themes. There were so many talented artists in the movie who were used more as props. They should have had a bigger role." She goes on to say, "This movie seems like an ode to herself for nailing down a man, Ben Affleck. It's not really about love. This is a movie about conquering a man." She's basically telling everybody that the other relationships that her and Ben had were just filler until they could be together again. Her kids and Ben kids are going to be watching this. Do they really need to know how much she loves sleeping with their dad? We all know it's not her voice singing those songs, and then she continues by saying, "And if it is, auto-tune should get a lot of the credit. She is narcissistic, over the top, and way too in love with herself." For people clicking more than 2 stars, did you actually watch it, or are you just clicking on 5 stars because you love this ego maniac? Yikes. Alright, back to Ben and Jennifer. More inside details of their private life were released in her accompanying documentary that was just released this past week. Early in the documentary, Lopez reveals that she showed her musical collaborators a collection of letters that Affleck gave to her as a gift. "This book is a book that Ben gave me on our first Christmas back together. It's every letter and email that we wrote to each other from 20 years ago and today," she says. The cover of the thick binder says, "Handwritten, the greatest love story never told by Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, 2001 to 2022 and counting." Jennifer explains, "It became like our Bible and we just left it there in the studio." Ben Affleck, however, was surprised their correspondences were made public. "I was like, 'You've been showing all the musicians all these letters?' And they were like, 'Yeah, we call you Pen Affleck,'" he recalls in the documentary. "I did really find the beauty and the poetry and the irony in the fact that it's the greatest love story never told, and if you're making a record about it, that seems kinda like you're telling it." He adds later that he had to adjust to the change. "But things that are private, I've always felt are sacred and special because they're private, so this was something of an adjustment for me."